Good evening and welcome to the NSMQ Live Chat. This is the second episode of the NSMQ Live Chat 2025. My name is Isaac Kujukran, your host. We have an amazing guest on our show today, a household name in the NSMQ. His name is Daniel Kekeli, an NSMQ champion from Presbyterian Boys Senior High School or Presbyterian Boys Secondary School. So Daniel Kekeli Gakpetor is a computer engineering student at Dartmouth College and an EEE Just Foundation Fellow, that's 2024 to 2026, a former student of Presbyterian Boys Secondary School, and he was vice president of the Science and Maths Club. He was also the captain of the NSMQ team. His technical expertise includes several programming languages and technologies. So Daniel has worked as a research assistant in reinforcement learning lab at LIPS, that's LIPS Lab, and as a technical teaching assistant in programming and embedded systems at Dartmouth. So beyond academics, he has interned with the Future Leaders Educational Empowerment Foundation, supporting underprivileged students with college counseling. He is also passionate about sports, particularly football, basketball, and Formula One. I don't know where he learned the Formula One from in Ghana, but then these are his hobbies. Those of you who don't know Daniel, please take a look at Daniel back in the days in 2020.
Presec Legon is represented by
Gakpetor Daniel Kekeli, final year.
Gakpetor.
A equals -4 and B equals 10.
You're right. One six. Yes, Gakpetor.
Curve is given by y equals x cubed minus x squared plus 5x plus 1.
Yes. Yes, Gakpetor.
The symbol for sodium is capital N, small e, and the word it is derived from is natrium, and it is a Latin word.
Yes.
Mm. 738 grams.
Yes. Also, a purposely designed, yes, Isaac?
Composite.
Composite.
Congratulations to Presec.
What was going through your mind at that point?
Well, it's a competition, and competitions are not always smooth. It's not always smooth sailing. So we just had faith in God. We had faith that we were going to win, and we were just waiting to see how it would turn out.
Hello, Daniel. Welcome to the NSMQ Live Chat. Hello, Daniel.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please. I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
How
Thank
are you
you.
doing?
So thank you very much for having me.
Right,
I'm well
right.
by the grace of God. How are you also doing?
I'm doing perfect.
Oh, that's great.
Right. So prior to the NSMQ 2020, where you guys, lifted the coveted trophy, that Presec had been in the drought, and Presec had not really carried the trophy. And so would you want to share with us some of the most memorable, taking your participation in the NSMQ in general, would you want to share some of your most memorable moments from the quiz, especially the feeling of winning the championship?
Yeah, sure. So it's quite interesting you put that highlights reel before the interview started. So I was watching it and I was reminiscing some of the moments we had. So there was one question, one answer you guys actually put in the video, which was a speed race question Benjamin answered 738 grams in the final. So one interesting thing about that question was as soon as Prof finished reading the question, Benjamin rang. And then for a split second, I was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, how are you sure you have the answer? In my head, obviously. And then he didn't write, Benjamin did not write anything. He didn't write anything on the paper. So I couldn't even like confirm as to what he was saying was correct or wrong. But then it was Benjamin. So I knew it was going to be correct.
The
So
trust
yeah,
is there.
then he started. He started 738. Then I realized, oh, I mean, yeah, electrolysis, saw how we had to multiply, so he was on the right direction. So he read out the whole answer, 738 grams. And at that moment, I felt like hugging Benjamin on stage. Because I was like, yo,
The boy did
yeah,
it.
it's quite. Benjamin was on form, especially in the final. I think he really pulled through for us. So that's like one of my more memorable experiences in the quiz. Also, the final, a lot of people know that we struggled a little bit uh in our quarterfinal. It was not as, I don't know, that whole day, Prof read out the first question. It went to another school. And we rang for a bonus. We thought we rang. I mean, we heard a bell sound. Prof called us. We answered. And later it was reversed because apparently another school's number had come on
Sure.
the machine that notifies the quiz mistress and the audience. So the bonus we answered correctly was reversed. And that was the very first question of the contest. So when it happened, I just looked at Benjamin. I was like, so it's gonna be a long day. Yeah. And then that same set, that very first set in our question, Benjamin and I both solved a wrong question correctly.
Wow.
So she asked for a change in kinetic energy, and I don't know how the both of us were confused, but we both solved for the final kinetic energy of the system. And I kid you not, it took me 4 years to figure out that we had heard the wrong question. Or no, not heard the wrong question, or solved the wrong question. So for 4 years, I was thinking, this answer should have been correct. Like, why didn't Prof accept it?
You
But
didn't
four
make
years
any.
later,
You didn't do any protest. You
no,
didn't even approach her after
yeah,
the quarter.
we had a procedure, we had a signal we would make to our team down there if we gave an answer and felt it should have been protested. So I think we might have made a signal, but we also have our people down there solving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I'm sure they solved the right question. And so even if we
Right.
made a signal alerting them that
It didn't amount to
they should
anything.
go protest, it didn't amount exactly. So that quarterfinal contest, in fact, also I remember when Isaac came on, before the riddles, the point difference was 3. And that's very scary going into riddles because you never know what will happen. And so there's that video of one of our chemistry tutors, Sayok, praying very hard, during the riddle round. And so it's quite interesting because um Ghana National rang on the second clue. And at the point where she rang, I wrote on my paper like chromosome because it made sense. And this girl rang. So when the lady rang, and that's the
You're
contestant
choosing
from
your words carefully.
yeah, I think it's important to be a little like yeah.
Yeah, they
But
are
when
all
the lady
names down.
rang, the
Yeah,
contestant
right.
from uh from Ghana National College rang and said chromosome. For a split second, I was scared. I was like, goodness, because are they about to overtake us? And then Prof said it was wrong. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
thank goodness. Yeah, so then we um waited a little bit, and then the final clue that gave us the answer, that was Vector. When she read the clue, I just rang, looked at Isaac, and I knew what he was going to say. And he also knew I was. So we didn't tell each other. We didn't even discuss it. I just rang, looked at him. He raised his hand. Vector, you are right. And I think that was really nice. I think working with the team we had for 2 years and some change, we developed quite a good chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost telepathic.
Yeah.
Sometimes we didn't even need to tell each other
Sometimes you were
what to do.
communicating. What is it? Telepathy.
Yeah, I
those
mean
are
it's quite
pseudo means
yeah,
of communication when you do a psychology.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and you have to develop such things because it's a short fast-paced, high-pressure environment
Right.
where you don't have enough time to. Sometimes Isaac and I would just like we have true and false written on our sheets. So when Prof reads the question, I would take true, Isaac would take false. And now whose answer are we going to go with? It's 10 seconds. You can't explain
Explain.
within
Yeah.
that time frame.
Right.
Exactly. So
Okay.
you just have to go with who is more confident. But yeah, the feeling of winning the competition was and it was a sense of relief because of the comeback at Desadel was mounting at
Right.
the tail end of the contest. I think
There's
that
always
personally,
something at stake, right? With the NSMQ, there's
yes,
always something at stake.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think personally, on a personal level, I made a few mistakes in the contest, maybe due to pressure, but also, I mean, to be fair, I was not well the day before the contest. So actually, after the media engagements we had, the media obligations we had as finalists, went back to our dorm, and then I went back to sleep, and I slept like pretty much the whole day. I couldn't train the whole day
Wow.
of the. Luckily for us, the final was in the evening, so on the day off, we were able to get some reps in
Sure.
before going to the city hall. But I think it was a very shaky, experience for me personally. But then that's why I'm always very thankful for the team we had. Because even if one contestant was not having the best day, I
The
remember
other.
the example I gave with Benjamin. Like I felt like hugging him on the stage. And I don't think I only told him that like maybe 2 years later. I was like, bro, when you answered
Afterwards.
this question, I was so relieved. And then when Isaac also answered the composite riddle, which was the one that sealed the game for us. So the funny thing is, before the riddle round, we were leading by what, 5? And I told Isaac, I was like, bro, we just need to pick one riddle, and then the game will be over. So like, let's try and pick the first riddle, because at that point I felt so much pressure, you know. So luckily for us, the riddle, the clues were rang. Opoku went first, and we had composite in our mind. So when the guy said when the Opoku contestant said composite, we were a little. Then he added function, and then Prof said, no, I can accept that. Sometimes we try to read her body language, and
Right.
so that okay, the composite function is close, but yeah. So when Isaac read out the answer, I actually closed my eyes. If you watch the video carefully, my eyes were closed because like I was like, goodness, like let's get this right, and then we did get it right. So when she said you're right, I actually like almost like collapsed in my seats, like as in I just felt like yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a lot of relief.
Right. So, what made the 2020 contest, stand out for you? Like, what contest was that, particular contest that got you on your toes?
Oh, definitely the quarterfinal contest.
The
Definitely the
quarterfinal.
quarterfinal contest. It was quite an experience. It was quite an experience. It was yeah, and then also the semifinal, our semifinal me and AB Presby. I think it was my favorite contest because it was one where I think all three of us really like showed the best of like our ability. Yeah. But the competition as a whole, like 2020 NSMQ was special because of COVID. We didn't even know for months, we didn't even know whether the competition was going to happen. And that was very scary because, you know, we'd been at that point we trained for a year and a half when COVID happened. And we were
Right.
wondering if all that was going to go waste.
Nothing stops the NSMQ.
Yeah, not even COVID, thankfully.
So I was going to say that apart from Presec, like when you belong to a team, definitely you would want the progress of your team, and so your team comes first. But aside from your team, which other team really impressed you throughout the contests?
Yeah, there were quite a few. There are quite a few. First of all, at this Adele,
At this other
because
college,
we college, yes, in Bible, Ivan and Justice. I think we done a couple of trials against them.
before
So
prior
when
prior to the
you've
contest.
yes prior to the NSMQ, so when you've gone against somebody, you think you know them well. But then the Adesada we saw prior to the competition and the Adesada we saw in
During
Legon
the
were two
contest.
very different teams. And the one we saw in Legon was a very dangerous team that, if not for a few things, could have walked away with a trophy. There's also Accra Academy, who, like similar
Yes.
to Adesada, we had gone against them a lot. And um, we actually expected them to win that semi-final, but Opokwari was a very strong team. So um, I mean, yeah, that what happened happened. But
But you know that
I,
you know that even subsequently from 2020, 2022, Akaka has always been that solid team. They come very prepared. They're
yeah,
always giving
e-
nice
e- e-
contest. I
exactly.
mean, exemplary contest in 2023 between Akaka and then Kita
Presec.
and Presec. It was
Mhm.
a tough contest. Look at their this thing, their their doings in the contest. It was, and so what
Yeah,
is it? What do you think?
come again.
So I believe that there is something because the students are good. They are
Yeah,
always good, but there is this something extra that gives some of these schools, Presec, Adisco, Prempe, was there's this something extra that gives you guys that mileage, that lack that probably, oh, this is lack, oh, Presec, oh, this is lack. But then the lack stands for something that you did right. What is that thing? What is that small ingredient that is there? Because Akaka for me has been one of the best schools, for the past four
yeah,
years. And they are always, kicked out so dishearteningly, and they come back and do the same thing.
yeah. So I think it's with how competitive the quiz is now, and I
Right.
think there's a huge emphasis on efficiency, speed, and the likes. And so it's become almost like a sport. It's useful to approach the NSMQ like you would approach training a team to go play basketball or football. And so when you look in the sports world, I think that there are teams with higher pedigrees and that have done it over the years. And maybe there's just something about representing a school with a higher pedigree, which for instance usually puts pressure on
On the other teams.
opposing contestants.
Right.
So there's a psychological component. I remember one thing when I was a junior, like watching Nathaniel and Co on stage, there's one thing we used to notice, which was that um, usually before the contest, when our contestants were writing formulas, other contestants were watching our contestants. So it's like
Right.
they'd write a little bit and then look at our guys. Obviously, it's not like that they're not
And that's a
comparing what
big
our guys are
distraction.
writing. Yeah, and so it's almost as if there's a you have a leg up psychologically, unless you are going against someone who has that very strong
That
self belief,
equal,
because
yeah,
upsets happen. that they are on
Right.
equal footing. Yeah, and then there's generally the difference in resources that are available.
Right.
It's a very large team in Presec, so the difference in resources also helps. Sometimes some lesser known schools tend to be one man shows, and there's only so much you can do as an individual. But
Do
if you are going
individually.
against a collective, yeah. So I mean, to wrap it all up, there was this one quote, one advancement contestant made. I think it was Darrell Thompson, or his partner, and he said, when you are doing the NSMQ, you as a contestant, you are almost like the collective knowledge of a supporting cast, maybe 12 people
Right.
embedded in two contestants at a time on stage. So, the collective factor is what I think, the collective ability is what I think gives more popular schools an advantage over lesser known
Advantage.
schools.
Yeah. So you've spoken about temperament, how you handle how the teams handle themselves on stage. That there was a particular what you call contest that as you guys were answering the question, you saw that other schools will leave answering their question and then tend to look at you guys what you are doing. Yeah, it's like when the
Yeah.
contest is hot, everyone is trying to fight for their marks. So don't you think that? Do you think that, or to what extent do you think that the psychological sessions, the psychology sessions that the psychologists put the teams through, to what extent do you think it preps or helps the students for the contests?
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Actually, I would like to commend Prime Time for putting that in place because I think it's very important and it
Thank
is
you.
quite helpful, honestly. Uh, so, well, from my personal experience, even going into that quarterfinal contest, I think I had a few jitters. First of all, it was the first time we were meeting Prof herself. We
Right.
previously done with other,
So
so
she
there's
comes with
always
her
that
own aura,
star
right?
factor. Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Honestly, she does. But one thing about Prof that also helps is, she comes around to talk to the contestants with the
Right.
cameras off before the
Right.
contest starts. So, it helps to calm you down, just um really help you relax a bit. But yeah, the psychologists before and after contests are very helpful. I think they help to calm you down, help to put things in perspective. Um if you win, that's great. If you lose, then SMQ is not the end of the world. And truly, it isn't. Most of us are not even 18 when we go on stage. There's so
Right.
much ahead of us. And at that moment, it would feel like your world is crashing down if you're losing. But really, there's a lot more. There's a lot more to it.
Okay. So you've been following the current trend of the NSMQ 2020 to
Yeah, I have.
2025. It's been a long time and so much has changed
It
in
has.
the program. Yes. So
Yeah,
I want to establish that you've been following the current trend of the
I have.
NSMQ.
I have been.
Very good. Are you
Yeah.
pleased with how probably prime time is improving the program, how the audiences are getting involved, how alumni is getting involved, how it is helping schools, how it is maximizing its impact? Are you happy about it?
Yeah, I would say I'm happy with it. I think the quiz has evolved quite a bit since my year. Um, every year contestants are faster, more efficient. It's a cat and mouse game between contestants and their supporting teams and prime time because every year prime time sets. I mean, there's some sets of questions which no one is able to answer. And then also, most schools go back, do their homework, and then the next year everyone gets it correct.
All right.
And then so contestants are always getting faster, more knowledgeable. I think the quiz is and there are a few concerns that the quiz is a little calculation biased, but I personally don't see that. I think it's quite a good balance between the calculation and theoretical questions, especially in the latter stages of the quiz. So I'm happy with how it's progressed, and yeah, I think the production, the fanfare around the quiz, the hype around the contest. If anything, I just wish it went on a little longer than it used to.
Really?
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah,
we
because
also,
now NSMQ. But yeah, it's tough. I know it's tough on the staff, the production. It's
but
very
we've also,
involving, so I would
right,
understand.
I know, right. You've
Come
also
again?
heard of
Yeah,
the
because
STEM festival, right? You've also heard of the
I
STEM
have, I
festival.
have. Yes, yes.
So, and the STEM festival adequately, addresses that theoretical form of the NSMQ and all
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I think that was even my point. I think my point was the explanation versus calculation questions.
Right.
That's
I
what
get it.
I was talking
You know,
about. Yeah,
one
but
funny thing. You know one funny thing
yeah,
that when you come on the STEM festival, the STEM festival is very,
hmm,
practical induced,
yeah,
hands-on.
innovate. Yeah,
You have come and do it, and let us see what you can do. And
hmm,
most of the schools that do very well in the NSMQ, when they come to the state, what you call the STEM festival, they struggle. Now, Obuasi Senior High School has won the STEM festival for 3 consecutive times, and they don't even do well
yeah,
on the NSM. So I believe that the STEM festival has, adequately been able to bridge the gap between, the orientation of the NSMQ and then
oh yeah,
that line that we had to fill,
yeah, most
right?
definitely it has. Yeah,
Okay. So how has participating in the NSMQ impacted your life?
yeah. It's first of all, I would say it gave me a number of close friends, lifelong friends, both in and out of
Socialization.
Presec. Yeah. People say, oh, well, you would think, say, if we were contestants for different schools, we'd probably be at loggerheads, like not be the best of friends.
No, but
Yeah,
it
but
exists
I
for a
think
while.
after
During the
it probably
competition, it
does.
exists for a while. Very subtle.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, there are some schools, I'm not gonna say their name, but like there are
I
some
know,
schools
right?
where they won't even shake your hand. They won't even shake your hand before a contest. And I mean, that's okay. Like, I
I know,
remember
right?
before one contest, I walked past someone who was like, I was actually going to face. And I was trying to be nice, and I said, good luck. And he just looked at me and then went away.
Wow.
He, and then I don't know what was up with him, but I don't know, maybe he did need the luck, but it is what it is. But
Yeah. I hope.
so yeah, so it's the socialization aspect, and also access to, I think people people who help to support your vision, because NSMQ targets contestants who they believe are quite smart, but then although you may be good academically, you still need people in your life who will support you, whether financially or emotionally or whatever. And I think that people who support maybe plans to further your education and the likes, scholarship opportunities. There are some contestants who benefit greatly from scholarship opportunities, for instance. So I think that's also another thing where the NSMQ has helped greatly. And also the last and more one of the more underrated um, benefits of the NSMQ is that I think that it just gives you a belief in yourself. Like when you're able to do it, you get this belief in your like God-given ability,
Self-confidence.
to tackle complex situations, react under pressure, and yeah, just generally be an all-round person. I watched a couple interviews back in the day, and then I was understandably like good academically, but also very introverted and shy. But participating in the competition like an SMQ, it helps you to come out of your shell a little bit. So that's also
All
good.
right. Good. Great. Thank you. So, why computer engineering? We most of the NSMQ participants, their first choice is medicine. Almost everybody is going to medicine. But then I've seen, this trend of NSMQ participants. Yourself, Nathaniel. We interviewed the lady last week, and then all
Yeah.
of you guys are now, gearing towards engineering. What is the new trend? What is hidden that we don't know that you guys know that you are not informing us?
Yeah, I think engineering is fun. Personally, I like the challenge. Yeah, and also um there are a lot of opportunities in engineering for sure. It's also an environmental thing. I think sometimes when you are in Ghana, going to like tertiary education, in tertiary education especially because of how expensive it is, it's important to think about job prospects. In an ideal
Right.
world, yeah, people you wouldn't have to think about it. But then the reality of on the ground is that when you're going to university, you have to think about your prospects very deeply. And I did think about it deeply. But I also had a good interest, a solid interest in computers, programming in general. So initially I was leaning more towards electrical engineering. And I took an introduction to programming class, and I enjoyed writing code a lot more than you thought that I would. And I thought, well, maybe I could find a career that combines the two in the best way possible. I feel now I probably even enjoy, writing code like more than the other like aspects of engineering. So maybe for all you know, if I were to start college again, I might even just do computer science and not computer
I know,
engineering.
right?
But I'm happy with the work I do, the work I'm exposed to in college, both the electronics and circuitry aspects, and then the programming and logic and the mathematics. So, I think that's why computer engineering for me was a good choice. Yeah,
I would,
and one last thing
I
I would
would,
also like to mention real quick. One last thing I would
sure.
also like to mention real quick is that I think it was also very important to have career guidance. I had a, quite a significant number of mentors who I spoke to, who initially I thought I knew the direction I wanted to head into. One second. Sorry about that.
No,
Initially, I
that's
thought I
okay.
had a direction I wanted to. Initially, I thought I had a direction I wanted to head to, and then I spoke to people, had the guidance, and then they showed me where I should actually go, and so that was also good.
I must say I was
Yeah.
taken aback when I read your profile and I saw that you know about almost close to 10, programming languages
No,
at your
I mean
level.
it's
Are you serious?
no,
Or is
it's
it that they
not.
are
It's
very
not. It's
related and so when you know one it's
Yeah,
easier for
yeah.
you to know?
Honestly, yeah, transitioning. I think with programming, yeah, learning one language is, but also it's like not all of them are like different programming languages. I think with how my resume was, how my actual resume is structured is different because I separate them into different categories.
Right,
But this was
right,
an abridged version. But
right.
some are actual programming languages. Others are more like technologies. For instance, when you work on a project, you might be using a programming language, but then there's an accompanying technology that you have to use in addition to that language, which it's in on my like lengthier resume, they are separated into more defined categories, but this was a more abridged one. That's why I just aggregated them together. But yeah, it's there are a lot of them are related to each other. It's a little easy to transition from one language to the other. And honestly, it's more about what the project you are executing requires. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about Presec, Charlie. Enough of
Oh
the
yeah.
book, Charlie. So what are some of your fondest memories back at Presec? Or Daniel?
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
You haven't Daniel yet,
So
right? You have a long way to go.
no, I'm not. Not
Right.
not that long actually. Not that long actually. So um my favorite memories. Well, there's the NSMQ, but I've kind of spoken about it because we used to go for trials a lot, then see other
Mm.
schools, be in a bus for 3 hours, drive to Cape Coast, all
For
that,
trial.
just having fun, yeah, for trials or go to Eastern region, go to the Eastern region or the Volta region. I remember one of my favorite trips was when we went to Ola Girls because we had this banku and okro.
There
We
are
had this
several
banku
Ola
and okro
girls.
soup.
You're talking about the whole, right?
Oh, sorry,
Ola.
the one in
Yeah,
Ho. Yes,
yeah,
the one
right.
in Ho. Yes. So, one of my favorite trips was the one we went to Ola Girls in Ho,
Not
and we
every
had
girls.
this delicious. Let me say the reason why
They
you
will
don't
come at
understand.
you. They
Let me
will come
say
at
the
you.
reason why. Let me
Alright.
say the reason why that's my favorite trip. It wasn't because of a girl. It was because of banku and okro.
Okay.
We had this delicious banku and okro from.
Mhm.
I heard it came from Maui.
Right. Maoli school.
We had that in the bus, Maui school, because they are both in Ho. I think so. Yeah. So after the
Yes.
trial, we had this very delicious banku and okro soup from Maui school, and I enjoyed that so much. And I was like, wow, like this is good. Like, I was wondering if that's what they have in
That's
their
what
dining
they eat.
hall, then
Right.
kudos
Well,
to them.
Presec, you already have
Maybe I should have.
it.
Well, not
You
Bang.
already
I
have
mean, Presec is
it.
in Accra. Presec is in
I
Accra,
guess.
so we had a lot of kinky,
Okay. Oh,
understandably. So I
I let
mean,
you go. Thinking
yeah,
what?
kinky.
Bolus or what?
Bolus.
Bolus. Ah, right. So you were having
Yeah,
bolus all the time.
we're having bolus. Yeah, I think twice or 3 times a week. Yeah,
Wow.
my mom is Ghana though, so that's
All right.
also good for me.
So which house?
Yeah,
Which house were you in?
I was in Osupari. I was eight.
Old Park. So house eight.
Yeah, so yes.
House eight, room eight. Open the gate. room.
Yeah, so Reverend Umpre was of blessed memory was my housemaster for a year before he retired. And so that was, I have this very interesting because I think the last time I saw him was actually a few months before the news came, and we had just
Wow.
finished the Sharks quiz. And so he came to visit, he was walking around the school and he met me. And he said, like, he knew me because I was in House 8. So he said he knew me from, and I was like, oh yeah, like he reckoned I was in the science and math quiz team and all that. He said, "Oh, I just watched you guys on TV." So I explained to him that I said that was a new competition, Sharks. I wasn't even a contestant, but he saw the guys on TV. So he commended us for doing a good job on the Sharks quiz, and he just wished us well for the NSMQ. Was like, and then it was quite a nice, impactful encounter with him. He was a very great man, and yeah, I know the Odadia fraternity misses him
Now,
greatly.
are you familiar with what was some of his rhymes?
Oh yes,
House
yes.
eight,
The school
eight, open the
retreats,
gate.
house 8, room 8. The other
Open the
line I
gate.
cannot say. House 8, room
You
8. The
just
other line I cannot say. Come and see me at
I know,
8. Don't
right?
be late.
Don't
Exactly,
be late. I'll be
exactly.
waiting.
I don't like to wait. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We remember Reverend Don very very well.
Choristers on your feet. UJ, give us the beat.
Exactly. Yeah, he was a very great man. He was a
Right.
very
So were
great
you
man.
in any other, extra, curricular activity like a school cadet, drama club, SU,
Yeah.
what any of those, or
Or
just
maybe
football?
SU. Oh no no
SU.
no no. Maybe SU. Yeah, that as well. And also Uh, I don't know if you mentioned the Science and Math Club. Was the vice president.
No, I knew that is automatic.
Yeah, Science and Math. Being in the Science and Math Club was also fun, and then there was also the basketball courts right in front of House 8.
Like house
Right.
eight,
So there's a basketball court right in front of House 8, and the rooms in House 8 have balconies where you could sit and
balconies,
watch.
yeah,
Exactly.
stadium.
So every time, exactly. So every time there was Sprite Ball qualifiers, we used to, like, if you had a room in House 8, then you could. Honestly, I
Charge.
think the boys over there now, they should be charging those from the other houses. Like, if you want to come
So they
watch
all,
on
they
my
all come
balcony, just
from house 6, House 5, House
Yeah,
3,
house
and
six,
those.
house three, house five. Yeah, they'd be on our balconies and watch from there because it's a much nicer view standing on top. And then,
Yeah, at the top.
yeah, I think the guys now should be charging the other those from other houses.
Okay. So Dumpy never came and stood when, probably when you guys were watching one of those games, and if you are definitely
No,
at the balcony,
yeah,
if they are definitely at the
exactly.
balcony, they will be scratching things, and he never came to stand there. You
Mm-hmm.
you you paid.
Oh, I mean, he did that once. First year, our first year, yeah, he did once, but he also, he knew he was on his way out, so I think he was a
So
lot
he
more
became more
laid back. Yeah, we definitely met a more subdued version of Reverend
okay.
to be fair.
Luckily. Okay.
Yeah, luckily.
Okay, so aside, since you started pursuing computer engineering, what are some of the
Hmm.
challenges that you face? It's not all gloomy. We know that
Oh
no
yeah, for
matter
sure. Yeah.
the program you use, you definitely face certain challenges. And because of this conversation, I know there are thousands of people watching, and so some of them will be geared towards pursuing computer engineering. So if they want to pursue computer engineering, it means that they should be prepared for all the pros and cons of it, right? So would
Yeah,
you
yeah,
kindly
sure.
share some of the challenges that you've faced so far and how you've been able to overcome them?
Oh yeah. So I think the biggest challenge is a recurrent challenge. Not one you overcome outright. It's something you learn to deal with. It's just only dealing with when your code is not running. Your code, when you write code,
And you don't know where the problem is
it
coming
can
from.
not run for a number of reasons. And I think debugging code or looking for errors in code is a usually very long and painful process. But then building that patience, is a virtue that honestly um doesn't just apply to computer engineering, but in general, building that patience when things don't go well, um to tackle the situation from the roots, be a little more detail oriented, and also just, yeah, be persistent.
So
Yeah.
how has these LLMs helped with coding? Because I learned that now you can use some of these LLMs and you are good to go. They don't fail. Is that the case?
They do fail sometimes. Yeah, from
They do
experience, they
fail
do fail,
sometimes. Even
but
the LLMs.
sometimes.
All right.
Yes, but it's a technology. Technology is not perfect, and it's
Right.
a constant iteration, always improving upon it. It does help, honestly. Like even before, like LLMs entire programs for you, code editors could like auto complete. Like if you're writing a long line of code, sometimes it could accurately guess what
It's,
you are
yeah.
trying to write. Or
Right.
even sometimes when you write a piece of like a line of code with a very obvious error, a syntax error, or you omit a
Or meet.
character
Yeah.
like a semicolon or something, the editor would even alert you that the code you've written has XYZ error even before you try to run it. So it's a continuous improvement of the technology, which is pretty helpful. It is helpful.
So, would you want to share with us what you hope to achieve with computer engineering? Are you going to come back after your studies in 2026, and then we'll see Daniel Gakpetor, IT consulting or something like that? Are you going to come back and help us with the ECG
Yeah.
problems, or we should forget about?
Hey. Oh, you should definitely not forget about me. You see, as long as there's family, friends in Ghana, I
No,
can't
that is
just
not what we
say
are talking
I'm
about.
going.
These are
Yeah,
two
but
different.
but yeah,
Come-
but in terms career wise,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, career wise, I think the you never stop learning, right?
right,
And
right.
so my main objective is honestly to learn as much as I can and then see
Beautiful.
what I can do with that knowledge. So,
Okay.
well, but also life is not linear. So I can sit here and say after school I want to go into a PhD, I want to do XYZ. And yeah, I mean I have a high level idea of some of those things I would like to implement. But then I'm also learning to approach a life one day at a time. Look at what I have to do now. Yeah. So I mean, at some point, I would most likely like have significant like skin in the game, like in terms of maybe Ghana, what is going on, whatever is going on in Ghana. But I'm focused on my studies and then my work in general, gaining as much expertise as I can. That's what is most important for me at this stage in my life. So when I get to the point where I know I'm ready to execute a major project of some form. I think a notable example is the founder of Ashesi University, having worked
Right.
abroad for a long time and then knowing he was ready to come back and then having such a significant impact on the lives of people. It's not a
Wow.
process that should be rushed.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's my mindset in general.
Yeah, okay, that's beautiful. So we know
Thank you.
that we have so many NSMQ participants current and past watching our program, and then so
Yeah,
what would you want to tell them, especially with how the game goes, these mind games that go with it, these telepathic,
yeah,
bonds that you were talking about, how they, I know that usually when usually when it comes to solving the questions, everyone is good. They are as good, but
everyone
how
can do
to,
it.
bonds, how to compose yourself on stage and some of these things, how do they navigate through these challenges and be as good as some of these schools, Presec, um OWAS, Prepare?
Thank you.
How?
Thank you. So, yeah,
Yeah.
so I have a lot to say about that, honestly. The most important thing is that you should self-worth to your performance in the NSMQ
Can you repeat
or
that?
academics in general. So I would advise them not to attach their self-worth or their self-image to the NSMQ and like just that academics in general. That's something I've learned from my mother, especially because she made me understand from pretty early on that you're good academically, but there's a lot more to life. And as much as you might think you want to 100% focus on this, which is good, also be sure to make sure that every other aspect of your life is also in order, because some of these things go a long way. Your mental health is very important. I think that's one thing that we don't talk about as much. Even if you win, or if you lose, it's important to take care of your mental health. Because if your mental health is good, then you can attack your goals consistently. You can work at it pretty well, and yeah. So have a good support system. And then with regard to the quiz itself, the biggest thing is consistency. The biggest thing is consistency. Yeah, and it's also honestly, it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. Um, so like with the culture in Presec, when you come, as soon as you come into the school, there everyone is on fire. Everyone wants to thinks they can become a contestant, and then everyone also has an idea of who they think is the guy or who is good.
Right.
That's
Right.
a form one.
From
Yeah,
why?
but then when you look when you
Charlie.
look at like the names that were floating around from like Form 1 first term to the time we were actually going on stage. I mean, for someone like Isaac or even Benjamin, yeah, it was really obvious that they had the talent. They had to put in the work as well. But then sometimes there are other cases of other contestants where you at the time you begin the training, or at the time we began the training, you had little to no idea that they would end up going on stage. So the consistency or constantly working on yourself, it won't just help you in NSMQ, it will help you in other aspects of your life. You don't healthy competition, don't compare yourself to others, compare yourself to your previous self. Constantly try to improve. constantly try to become a better person. Yeah, that's one thing that they should be very focused on.
Okay, that's beautiful. Do you think that Presec is pulling any surprise this year? Last year, the journey was truncated, and then there were lots of disappointments, and that semi-final contest became the contest of the
Yeah,
year. But then,
yeah,
so are there any
yeah.
surprises this year? Are we gonna see any Presec pulling through to come back strongly?
But but what is right? Is that not when we lose?
Come again.
I'm saying, what is the surprise? Is it not rather surprising when we lose
That's what I'm
than when we
saying. That's
win?
what I'm saying. That Presec
So
losing was to
it,
Fansipum was one of the
yeah,
the biggest news last year, and
yeah.
so
So like if you say, hmm
no, but
so if you say like, are
usually
we expecting a surprise from Presec? If you say, are we expecting?
ah
Are you trying to ask me if are we expecting Presec to lose? Because we don't expect to lose, do we?
I know, right?
Anyway,
No, but usually,
that's just me
usually
being,
when you are winning, you've been winning throughout. Your confidence level is
yeah,
optimal. Do you understand? And the moment
yeah,
there's a
that is
dent
true.
in that, yes, in that your
Yeah,
confidence, then it starts dropping. Then you start doubting yourself and all that. And so, are you
yeah.
sure that the team is well prepared mentally, psychologically to come back strongly into the glory that we know Presec to be, the untouchables that we know Presec to be?
Well, yeah, I think that every year Presec presents contestants of the like the contestants who are trained to win, and so every year we come to contest believing that we can win. I actually like, I mean, accommodation and all that like, arranged with the day finals in mind.
You're right.
T-shirts are printed, slogans are created months in advance.
I
I
know,
actually
right?
have like a couple of friends. Quick shout out to Daniel James here. He's one of the brains behind a number of the slogans we've been hearing.
Is it Ogazi?
Daniel James, he's another day. He's in my class. I
Okay.
mean, like my batch.
Your
Daniel
mate.
Ampofu, yeah, my batch. Yeah, well, he's one of the brains behind a lot of the slogans we. So every year, a school like Presec is always expecting to
Serving
win.
a
Yeah, and
living
and
God.
I don't see. Exactly. Serving a great God and Adonai,
Adonai.
I think that yeah, so this year I wouldn't expect things to be any different. You know, we try our best to give the contestants space. The peace of
Right.
mind is very important. I think that one thing that also was not helping us when we were not performing as well was that the contestants we didn't know how to handle like contestants in terms of giving them the right of space. Sometimes you'd be studying in the quiz room, like people would come in and just tell you like you guys doing I hope like Presec, you haven't won for XYZ years. Like how do you feel about that? And it's not the best. I think it's time to shield contestants away from the noise. So that's what we
Yeah.
do. But then those of us outside of the team always believing in the guys. We always believe in the guys. And I think it reflects in the discourse we have online, the support we show for them on the day of the competition, which is much appreciated. As a past contestant, the Jama boys were some of my favorite guys. We had actually had a I don't know if it still exists, but during my time, we had an official Presec morale team. It was an
Oh,
established
yeah.
club that
Right.
sometimes traveled with the team
It's
to
not done by
trials.
the cadet boys or they
I
are
mean,
formal cadet.
it was started by the cadets boys my year, but yeah, we had a morale team which it became like a recognized club which traveled
Wow,
with
wow,
the quiz team and other teams to competitions, and then yeah, it's much appreciated.
wow. Okay, so in concluding everything, I would want us to.
Mhm.
I know some lyrics, but then I want you to, ginger us, all of us, take us through the Presec anthem, then let us close for the day.
Wow.
So we go one, two, 3, let's go. Happy are we? Studio, studio,
Are we students
so
students
praise
of Presbyterian Secondary School? Onward we march, we trudge along to happy victory. To victory, to victory. Our motto is a solid bulwark propelling us along. Illuminate, illuminate, only there be most movement. In the light, we shall see
we shall
light.
see light. Illuminate, may there be Muslim men. For Christian training, we
For
get
Christian
a sure,
training, we get
a
a
sure
sure
solid
set to take our places in the
foundation in
future
the
of our
future of
country.
our
Oh,
country.
come along and join us.
Oh,
Oh,
come along
come
and
along
join.
and join us.
Happy,
Come along and join us. Are
happy.
we? Yeah.
Darling,
Right.
darling. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you have any final words
It's
for
been,
for for,
it's,
for our viewers?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to first of all
And
just
you can
thank
also give shout
Prime
out
Time.
to some of the teachers and some of your friends who are
Yeah,
watching.
sure. Yes. I'd like to first of all thank Prime Time for this whole opportunity. I think it's blossomed into, I'm sure it's blossomed into something far more than what the initial founders could have imagined, which is impressive. And also a big thank you to the sponsors involved. The other dear fraternity as a whole, teaching teams, as now I call them my Brella brothers. Yeah, not just Benjamin and Isaac, but then the rest of the team, Faith, Kobe, Safo, David, Edu, and Pichi. Yeah, all those guys. Like those are some of my closest friends. We're almost like brothers now. Yeah, and so just appreciate all of them. I had to also, just show appreciation to Presec, to my basic school, Fountainhead Christian School, Sakumono. So that's that. And then, yeah, just uh, anybody who has also, shown an interest in me, my personal development. Yeah, much appreciated. Honestly, I should have come in with a script or a list because once I start mentioning names, I will definitely forget some. But it's 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 anybody I'm in close contact with. It's much appreciated. The concern they show for me, the advice, you know. Yeah, so that's what I have. In terms of last words, you mean just last words to the general public
Yeah,
or like
general
general viewership?
audience, yeah, everyone watching.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. I guess my last words would actually be almost like an admonition of sorts. I think that the contestants who come into the game are very young, very impressionable. So with a lot of the online discourse that we have, I mean we call it agenda. And yeah, it's fun. But let's keep in mind that whereas when you're doing it for like athletes, they are a lot older and more mature. These people are a lot younger. So I think we should be very mindful of the discourse that we have surrounding contestants, especially in the area on especially on social media. Try to approach it by when you make a tweet about a contestant, try to ask yourself that if someone was saying if someone was saying this about my little brother or sister, would I be happy seeing that on the internet? Because a lot of these comments affects the families of contestants and the contestants themselves a lot more than you think. You just say it in passing and sometimes even forget about it. But families are watching. Contestants themselves are also watching. So yeah, it's important to let's keep it PG. The comments we have, and then and there's always time for healthy banter. there's always time for healthy banter. It's one of the things that's made the NSMQ what it is. But yeah, let's be mindful of people's mental health. Yeah.
Okay, so before we leave, you last year you heard about Sifako Gakpetor, right?
Yeah,
A
yeah,
very
it's
one.
about perpetual, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
You are
great
you related
performance.
in any way?
We actually are. Yeah, we are
Ah,
related.
it's in the blood. It's in the blood. It's
Yeah.
in the
So
blood.
she's
The blood.
yeah, she's I think her dad and I are like first cousins once removed. So
Hey,
it's one of those things where we share like maybe 2 degrees of separation like at the we share a common ancestor at 2 generations before. So like
and the
great
and the
grandparent.
Gakpetor ancestry.
Well, yeah, it's a big family,
I
understandably.
know, right?
It's a big family. Yeah, so I think actually knew, I mean, that she was going or she was in the team even beforehand because I had a friend in Keta who told me, I was like, oh, you have a niece on our team. I was like, yeah. So I did speak to her maybe once or twice, but I mentioned this earlier, is before going on stage, it's important to shield the contestants as much as possible. So I never made any like comments about it online,
Comment,
didn't go
yeah,
around
sure.
saying, when she arrived on stage, and honestly, her performance was like marvelous. I was so proud. I was watching their contest and like when they answered some of those speed race questions as if like I hadn't been in her shoes a couple years ago. It was actually a very fun experience. I was wondering, so I was like, hey, so this is this how it feels when
This is
your
how, yeah,
relative or
yeah,
when your
yeah.
close friend, yeah, is killing it on stage. Like wow, like I felt very proud watching her. So it was a
Okay, okay,
great experience.
sure. Right. Thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you
We
too. It's been
appreciate
a
it.
pleasure.
Right. We at Prime Time would want to encourage you to keep moving mountains. We want to see you in future. We want to see you and be proud of you. So thank you for taking this
Thank you
path.
very
Thank you
much.
for coming to the
Thank you
NSMQ
very
Live
much.
Chat. Thank you for empowering all the past contestants and current contestants and future contestants who would be participating in the NSMQ. Thank you so much, Daniel Gakpetor, Presbyterian Boys Senior High
Thank you
School
very
20.
much as well.
All right. So, viewers, this is all time would permit us for today. We've been chatting with Daniel Gakpetor, NSMQ past participant, Presbyterian Boys Secondary School. He was a champion. He lifted the trophy. He brought good news to the Presec fraternity. And so, stay with us as next time that we are coming to you on this program, we are bringing another seasoned guy who competed with Gakpetor at the finals in 2020. He is Mbebo. Nona Mbebo of Adisadel College. He gave Gakpetor and his guys, a big run for their
Very
money.
scary.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So thank you, all viewers.
I'll be looking out for that.
Yeah, you
I'll
should.
be
You
looking
should.
out for
You
that.
should.
Yeah.
I'll ask him
All right.
about the contest, the final contest with you guys, and how they felt going back, and all the trolls and all that. Charlie Adisadel has been, I mean, the center of trolls. Oh,
Bro,
are you
and I don't
serious?
even get why, because schools that didn't even get to the quarterfinals will be trolling
Oh,
them, and I'm like, bro, come on,
it's like that.
it's not
That's
fair.
what makes the NSFW
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
They
that
give
is
up
true.
all the
Honestly, so far
critics.
as you didn't win, yeah, but that was it. That was intense. I remember
But they
when
did it
he
to
so
Presec
he.
last year. Have you forgotten so soon? They did it to Presec
Oh
last
yeah,
year.
see,
So Pregal this
I
second,
was
I
like,
draw Presec.
I, I remember tweeting after the contest. I was like, hey, pie on 4 kasa menim rough. Like, hey,
I know, right?
I was like, hey, pie of no, what people said to me that day. The contest ended, then one of my friends called me like out of nowhere, started, hey, kwabuche. I was like, well, not out of nowhere because we are close friends, but like, hey, kwabuche. Hey. I was like, hey, calm
Not
down,
say.
calm
Okay,
down,
Charlie,
calm down.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, viewers. Thank you for sticking and staying
yeah.
with us.